I need y'all to give all the love to Miss Ashley Eckstein.
Hello! Oh my gosh, hi everyone!
Ashley.
Y'all sure know how to make a girl feel loved.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have
Thank
all the
you.
love, all the love.
Oh my
Forgive the
goodness.
trail. John Barrowman was just here, and there's a lot of glitter still. It's still out here. It's
Oh
still out
gosh,
here.
well I heard John Barrowman was on right before me.
Yes.
And then I expected to walk into an empty room because I'm like, how can I follow John Barrowman?
Well, like this.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we are here to celebrate you in so many different ways. Number one, you started off as a Disney kid.
Yes.
And this was because your family moved to Florida? From where? Where did they move from?
Yes, so I was born in Louisville, Kentucky.
Hey!
Anyone from Kentucky in here?
We got some Louisvilles in the
Yeah.
house. Yeah, we do.
My parents were born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky.
I love it.
But they went to Disney World on their honeymoon and made a wish that one day my dad would get a job for Disney World and that they could have a family and raise them Disney. And they did just that. So we
When
moved to
you
Florida.
wish upon a star.
Exactly.
Perfect.
I truly believe it. And whenever I see a star to this day, I look up and I make a wish.
That's the sweetest thing.
But yes, no, you know what? I'm going to be making wishes until the day I die. I believe there's always a new dream and there's always another wish.
You just became my hero, literally, literally. Now, okay, obviously I have to poke a little fun because now, how did you say Louisville?
Louisville.
Now, what are the different ways that one can say Louisville?
Well, that's like the number one way you can tell if somebody's from there or not.
Very
Because
true.
most people say Louisville.
Nope, that's not
And
right.
if you say Louisville, then you're not from there.
Not at all.
If you say Louisville.
What is the penalty if someone says Louisville?
Oh, well, then I don't know. That's
Okay.
like saying quesadilla.
Ooh.
For a quesadilla. Hey, I know someone who says that.
We won't point them out. Are they here in the room? Are they in the room?
No.
No. So,
But I got to give a shout out. Speaking of my parents,
Yes.
my parents, Mama and Papa Tano, are here.
make some
Where are
noise.
they?
Make some noise.
There they are. They're
Yes.
glowing. Yeah. Mama and Papa Tano. My husband, David.
I love it.
David.
You guys made a wish, and now it's our dream come true. So we thoroughly appreciate you for that. Okay, so moving down there, great time, but you get into acting as a
Yes.
child while you're down there. What was one of your first roles?
Well, it actually started because my neighbor was a cameraman for the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh.
And so we got to go to a live taping, and I think I was in second grade, I think, and that's when it clicked for me that these kids that were in my television, that was real. And then that was a set that, like, it was a place you could go to, and it was a job. It was something they did. And I loved the Disney Channel, and I loved the Mickey Mouse Club. And so at that point, I just fell in love with acting. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's brilliant.
And my dream was not to win an Oscar. It was just to be on the Disney Channel. That's all I wanted to do. So that it started there. And then I just did whatever I could in Orlando, Florida. I know a big question I get a lot is how you can become a voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
And the easy answer, I mean, it's a long, there's no one way to get into it, so it can be a long answer, but voice acting is acting.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got into acting. I did theater, I did whatever film and television I could in Orlando, Florida, because all the theme parks. I did a little show for SeaWorld called Shamu TV, and I built up my resume in Orlando, Florida, and then I eventually moved to LA.
That's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the idea of you just wanting to be on the Disney Channel, the first time that you saw yourself there, you didn't stop though. You didn't say, well, I'm done now, I've done the thing. Did it just spark something more? Like, did you just see that there was more for you to do or more that you wanted to try?
Well, I feel very fortunate. I moved to LA when I was 19, and my mom, if you talk to her, in my line, she'll tell you that she looks back and she was like, how did I let you do that? Because I moved by myself. I went to college. A lot of people here are from Cincinnati. I went to college at CCM, University of Cincinnati.
Big shout out.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But I was 19 years old, and I legitimately looked 13. Ooh. So I could play a kid, and I did. So I got some great advice and had some contacts in LA. So I left school, moved to LA, and I was able to book some roles pretty quickly as a kid. So I played a character named Muffy on That's So Raven.
That's right.
Has anyone seen it? And I was able to make my dream come true to be on the Disney Channel. I was on that show off and on for 4 years. And I remember the very last episode, because we would record it in front of a live audience. And I could see that, it was mostly kids, but that these characters were really role models for kids, and that the kids in the audience really looked up to the actors on stage. And I also saw myself in the audience, because I was that kid that was in the audience at the Mickey Mouse Club, looking up to those kids. And I made a wish. And maybe the theme of this panel is going to be wishes.
I love it.
But I made a wish because I often played the mean girl in shows, and
that's because you're a great actress. You're clearly not mean. So yeah.
I know, but I promise I'd have to tell people, I promise I'm not mean like my characters. But I made a wish, and I said, one day I just want to play a hero. I want to play a good guy that's going to really make a difference in people's lives. And I said, if I ever have the opportunity to be in a position to be a role model, it's something I'm going to take very seriously. Well, little did I know that Ahsoka Tano would be right around the corner, about a year away,
Come on, make some
it
noise
was
for
really
that.
a dream come true.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
True story.
So, with that, Star Wars. When did you come into the fandom of Star Wars? Was it as a viewer? Was it, because considering our age, we were just right before Return of the Jedi came out. So obviously we didn't see that in theaters. But when did you get into Star Wars as a potential fan?
Well, my parents actually showed us a lot of sci-fi and fantasy growing up.
You guys are the best.
So yeah, we watched Star Wars. We watched The Hobbit. We watched The Never-Ending Story. That was always on. We watched Willow. So that was always on in the house.
Nice.
And so I did fall in love with Star Wars at a young age. So I would always call myself a Star Wars fan, especially growing up in Orlando. I got to go to, back then it was MGM Studios, right when Star Tours opened.
Yes.
And so I would always ride Star Tours, and I had a little plush Ewok. But it wasn't until Star Wars The Clone Wars came out, because, I would tell Dave Filoni, I'm I'm a Star Wars fan, and he would laugh at me.
What?
And
disrespectful.
Well, no, not in a disrespectful way, but he was just like, "Oh, you don't know what you're stepping into," and they would say, because we recorded Clone Wars for 2 years before you all ever saw it.
Right.
So I was cast in January of 2006. And we started recording in February of 2006, and Star Wars Clone Wars didn't come out until August of 2008.
Right.
So it was a very hard secret to keep, because I had to keep the secret for that entire time. But it wasn't until I did one of my very first interviews where they said, "So are you a Star Wars fan?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm a big Star Wars fan." And they said, "Well, what's Princess Leia's cell block number in A New Hope?"
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess I have a lot of learning to do.
Wow.
But it also made me realize, I'm like, you know what? There's no gatekeeping here.
That's right. That's right.
If you're here, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why some people still, because I do remember how I felt. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not a fan. But then I'm like, no, but I was a fan, and I was excited to learn. But so when people come up to my table and they say, well, I just discovered Clone Wars, I don't say oh, what took you so long? I say, well, welcome.
Yes.
I'm so excited you're here. And then I'm actually excited for the people that haven't made it all the way through Clone Wars or all the way through Rebels. I'm jealous, because I'm I'm so excited that you get to watch this for the first time.
That's the best.
So I've always been a fan.
Right.
but I became like a hardcore fan once I became the voice of Ahsoka, because then I was just so hungry to learn.
Of course.
And so yeah, I'm definitely, I feel like a hardcore fan
You're up
now.
there. Okay,
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely adore it. I'm going to invite you guys to start to line up because I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions. I want to give you as much opportunity to get through that, but I've got just a couple more, if you don't mind. Your clothing line, Her Universe.
Yes, thank you.
The advent of such a thing to give voice to female fans in a sci-fi space. What was your inspiration for that?
Inspiration was the fans, truly. When Star Wars: The Clone Wars came out in 2008 and I was starting to do a bunch of press, I wanted Star Wars clothes for me, like to wear to the press events, like to wear to the events. And I quickly came up empty-handed. I, was told to shop in the men's and the boys section because women and girls would not buy Star Wars merchandise made for them. Literally, I kid you not, somebody that I really respected in the industry called me up and they said, "Ashley, you just need to be happy with a men's size small."
What?
And I was like, whoa, because I knew that I wasn't alone.
Right.
I would go to conventions and I would see women everywhere. And so I was like, well, this isn't right, because this world that we love is not just for men and boys.
Right.
It's not just for women and girls. It's for everyone. And so I started doing my research, and this is back in 2009. I found out that 45% of all sci-fi and fantasy fans were women and girls, because I got the average attendance of the top 5 conventions around the world.
Oh, wow.
And then I found out that 85% of all consumer purchases were being made by women. And I'm like, I'm not a mathematician, but these
But-
numbers are not adding up.
Right.
Like, if you make us stuff, we will buy it. But why I say the fans inspired Her Universe is because I knew nothing about business. As I already told you, I didn't even have a college degree. I knew nothing about licensing or fashion design. But I had been bullied as a kid. And so I'm a huge advocate for anti-bullying, a huge advocate for mental health. We have on our sleeves here the Movement for Children's Mental Health next to my booth. Thank you. Thank you. We'll talk about them in a second. But I read story after story of women and girls who are being bullied just because they like Star Wars. And, we all know that being a fan, it's a part of you. It's not a trend. It's not something that you're into one day or out of the other. It's literally like how you would describe yourself. It's a part of your heart, and it's a part of your soul. And I thought, to be bullied for just celebrating something you love is no way to live. And so I wanted to create a safe space, a space where female fans could step into the spotlight and say, "Hi, I'm a girl and I like Star Wars," and a safe space where we could all come together and just celebrate this world that we love. And so I asked myself, what would Ahsoka do? And my answer was that Ahsoka would stand up for fans. And so I started Her Universe, and I have to thank all of you, because I didn't do it alone. From day one, I said, united we stand, divided we fall. If we want to say that this world that we love is for everyone, then we have to do it together. And I just want to thank you so much for supporting me over all these years.
You are an absolute hero. On screen, off screen, it's fantastic. Now, you want to talk about the organization? I want to give you an opportunity to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Of
Thank you.
course.
And since we were talking about Her Universe, a lot of people have been asking. We just launched this Ahsoka Tano sweater for the holiday season. So,
Do you want to model right quick? Just a
oh,
quick.
well, sure.
Come on now.
It's the new cardigan. There's a matching tank underneath. And these Tano shoes are also on Her Universe. Yes, so right next to where I'm signing is a booth for On Our Sleeves. Now, On Our Sleeves was a movement for children's mental health that was started right here in Columbus, Ohio. So yes, shout out.
Yeah, that's right. Come on.
For Columbus, Ohio, and Nationwide Children's Hospital.
Beautiful.
And they opened the first ever hospital solely dedicated to mental and behavioral health on a children's hospital campus in our nation.
That's right.
It's a giant full-scale hospital called the Big Lots Behavioral Health Pavilion, and it's right here in Columbus. And I've been working with them since 2018, and I'm just so grateful that they're here. So go check it out. Go to honoursleeves.org. It's free. It's a free resource, not only for our kids, which is so important, but also for everyone. There's a wealth of knowledge there for all ages. So definitely go check it out. And thank you for asking.
Of course, of course. Now's your chance. Hello,
Right,
friend. How are you?
Hi, my name is Schuler,
Hi,
and
Schuler.
I have grown up watching Ahsoka Tano, quite literally. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for being like my childhood hero and the one I look up to.
Thank you.
And I've learned a lot from her as I've watched her and gotten older and everything. So my question would be, what are some important lessons you've learned while playing that character for so long?
Oh, great question.
Ooh, well, you know, if you've heard me speak, you've heard me say this, but I feel like I can't say it enough because it's something I had to really retrain my brain because Ahsoka's power, her true power, and this is something I really didn't learn until the past couple of years, and it really struck a chord with me. Ahsoka's power is not how fierce she is with 2 lightsabers, because she's incredibly fierce. It's not just how like agile she is as she jumps from starship to starship, but it's really her kindness, and that is her true power. And kindness is powerful. And I say that because growing up, my parents are here. I'm so grateful. You know, they raised me and my siblings to be kind. And that was the #1 rule in our house, was the golden rule, is to treat others as you would want to be treated. But whenever I would go out and I would be kind, people would say like, ugh, you're too kind. You need to be strong. You need to be tough. And so I never associated being strong and tough with being kind. I always associated kindness as a weakness. And so it didn't stop me from being kind, but when I would go into rooms and I would have to be like business meetings,
Right.
and I'd have to be fierce, I never thought of it as maybe I should just really be kind to this person. And that actually might get me what I want by being kind. And that's Ahsoka. You know, one of my favorite lines is from the final season of Clone Wars, where she says, "In my life, when you find people who need your help, you help them, no matter what. I guess it's just who I am." And that is her true power. And so Ahsoka helps others no matter what. And I love when she leaves the Jedi Order. And, you know, she starts the rebellion, but she gets her white lightsabers that are neutral, and she just helps people. She finds her purpose again by helping the Martez sisters. So yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest lessons she's taught me. And thank you for asking
Thank
it.
you
That's
so
a great
much.
question. Thank you. Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Perry.
Hi.
I only recently got into the Clone Wars a couple of months ago. I finished it.
Well,
but,
welcome.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan of your work and just everything you've done. But my question is, if you can take any prop or anything from the Star Wars universe, what would it be?
You know what's so funny? I've never, aside from a lightsaber, obviously, I've never been really asked that question until last night, and it really stumped me. Because I'm like, well, aside from a lightsaber, and then I also feel like I love all of Ahsoka's costumes. I mean, I would just have all of her costumes in my closet. Absolutely love them. But then the one thing that came to me was I'd probably have a little Stinky, you know, from the movie, her backpack with Rada the Hutt with Stinky. I mean, he was really stinky, but he was cute, right? Imagine having your own Stinky.
That would be adorable. That would be
Yeah.
adorable. Not
Yeah.
a droid, not anything. No,
No,
it's-
actually,
okay, all right.
my dream, and my husband's listening, and he knows this.
Christmas is coming.
Well, no,
Christmas
he
is
knows
coming.
this, and my list is long. But no, my dream is to one day have my own R2D2. It really would be my dream. He's my favorite character, and if I could have my own R2D2, it would really be a dream come true.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's another wish.
That's a good one. We'll put that up
wishes.
there. We'll put that. There's some shiny lights. They count as stars. Hello.
Hello there. I'm David.
I love how you said hello there.
I know, right? He's been practicing that this entire time in line. I love it.
Yeah, well, you got to get in character, right?
I'm with it.
So I want to thank you. As far as I'm concerned, you have 2 of the most emotional scenes in all of Star Wars. And every time I watch the end of Clone Wars, I cry, right?
Yeah.
You can
Me
tell I'm
too.
getting
Me
a little-
too.
Right. And you've done so many amazing things with the character, but if there was anything you could do in the future, you know, I call up Dave Filoni and say, hey, do this, what would you want to do with Ahsoka going forward?
Ooh.
Big one.
I would just love to fill her shoes again. I mean, I've never had a hand in the writing because people ask me this a lot. They say, "Well, did you write any of the stories or did you have any input?" I never had a hand in the writing, but what I did have a hand in was just I was cast as Ahsoka to be myself. Literally, my audition was horrendous. It was pretty terrible because they originally wanted Ahsoka to have an Icelandic accent. Yeah, she'd be a very different character with an Icelandic accent.
little
No
bit, yeah,
disrespect to
yeah.
Icelandic accents, but I feel like, you know,
Not the same. It's
yeah.
not the same at all.
So luckily, Dave heard me talk in between takes, and he ended up liking just my own voice. So when I came in for the first session, they said, "We want you to just be you. Bring your own voice, bring your own heart, soul, and humor, sarcasm." Because they said, we don't want her to be bratty, but she needs to be snippy. So I had a lot of input in how I would say things. So I'm always careful. I'm not evading your question. I'm always careful to throw out storylines because I'm also not privy to the future storylines. So I don't want to act like I'm spoiling
Right.
anything that I don't even know I'm spoiling. But what I would love personally as an Ahsoka fan to see more about is I want to know more about Morai. I want to know about the connection with the daughter. I love Mortis, so I'm fascinated by that, and I feel like that is untouched, so I want to know more about that. And then, right? And then I want to know more between Clone Wars and Rebels, because did y'all like Tales of the Jedi?
Loved it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they're kind of on the fence. I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it was amazing. I thought it was so beautiful, so well done, but it was such a tease because they were so short, and then we want more. And I'm like, but wait. And I literally texted Dave Filoni, and I'm like, well, those were beautiful, but now I have more questions than answers. And I'm sure all of you do as well. So, you know, I have so many questions about what happens between Ahsoka and Clone Wars and Ahsoka and Rebels, and I hope I get to explore that more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question. Hello.
Hi, I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
I love your portrayal of Ahsoka and Rebels.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering if you personally could spend one day with any member of the Ghost Crew, what would you do and who would it be with?
Whoa. Okay, this got personal.
Yeah. No one's ever asked me this question before. I think, well, since we just talked about Tales of the Jedi, and spoilers, but we see a young Kanan, I would love to have one-on-one time with Kanan and just to share stories, because obviously their paths crossed. Obviously they know people in common. Obviously a lot's happened, you know, in between. And so, yeah, I'm sure they did chat, you know, and we just didn't get to see that yet, so another storyline. But yeah, I'd love to have some time with Kanan.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Great one. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
First, thank you for being here. Me and my older
you.
brother grew up watching Clone Wars together. He's like my best friend, so it's like nothing but good memories from that. But I guess wanted to ask, since you're like such a big Disney fan, what is your favorite attraction at Disney World?
Oh, okay. So this recently changed. I know, and I feel like y'all are expecting me to say Star Wars, and I'm sorry.
And yet,
Yes. So my favorite classic ride, because I feel like I always have to give a nod to the classic rides, is Big Thunder Mountain. I love Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. My favorite ride was Flight of Passage, the Pandora ride, because it literally made me cry the first time I rode it, because it feels like you're flying. But my new favorite ride is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind.
no hate for that.
So amazing.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. And if you haven't rode it, ride it when you go. It will literally blow your mind. And that is as close to flying as you'll ever feel. You literally feel like you're flying through space.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So,
Good
thank
job.
you.
Good job. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Kendra.
Hi, Kendra,
Thank
and I
you
love
for-
your
yeah,
outfit.
Thank you for the outfit. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I also grew up with Ahsoka throughout Clone Wars and everything, and I've always wanted to know if Ahsoka could have another interaction with Barriss, how do you think it would go after how everything went down? Because Ahsoka could have turned out almost
Yeah.
the same way Barriss did.
Well, you know, I've thought about this a lot, actually, and Ahsoka would forgive her. I feel like she's already forgiven her. And I feel like Ahsoka is one, she's very empathetic, and she would probably just have questions for her about why, and she would listen, and she would stand up for herself too and say, what you did to me was wrong. You know, she's not gonna, just let her walk all over her. But I think she would be very empathetic and forgiving. Not to say that she would be friends with her again. So, but she would be kind, and because Barriss had her reasons, and my grandfather, taught us, you never judge a person until you walk in their shoes, and I think Ahsoka would be the same way. She would really try to get in Barriss's shoes and understand why she did what she did. So I think she would forgive her, but I can't say they would be best friends again. But I do want to give a little explanation because you're so kindly wearing something from a collection I designed that's currently available right now on Shop Disney and at the Disney parks.
Go buy it.
Thank you. It's super comfy, I promise. And right in the front row too. Stand up. See, you're both wearing
right.
it. Turn around,
Big
show
shout
it
out,
off.
big shout out. That's right.
Um,
Work it.
But there's a really important story behind it, which is why I want to share it. The collection is called Guided by the Light. And I designed this collection during COVID. It was a dark time for all of us.
Right.
And at times, I think it was so dark, we all wondered, is there any light left? Like, are we ever going to get back to our everyday lives? Is this going to be our new normal? And so it was a dark time when I designed it, and but it was right after Rise of Skywalker as well, and the past Jedi come back and tell Rey, in the night, find the light, and let it guide you as it guided us. And so I inspired the collection by those lines. And it's a reminder because you're glowing now, actually, because the light is shining on you.
Yeah.
But when you're not in the light or when it's not at night, it just looks like gray taping. But it's a reminder that there's always light, even if you can't see it. And so the reflective material, the entire collection is unisex, and it's covered in reflective materials as a reminder that there's always light, even in the darkest of times.
Make some noise for that, y'all.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. Hello.
Hi.
First off, I want to thank you for creating her universe because I don't think I would have any clothes to wear if I didn't.
Thank you.
But I actually was wondering if you could talk about your new series that you have coming out called Mindful Matters and a little bit more about that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Because, I was talking to some people today, and a lot of people didn't know about them. So thank you so much for asking. It's a new digital series I did. It's on StarWarsKids.com and on the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. But I also want to preface that they're not just for kids. They're for Star Wars fans of all ages. The reason we put them on the kids channel is to say to parents and teachers and nurses and doctors that these videos are safe for
Yes.
kids.
Yeah.
But they're 2 to 3 minute videos, and it combines a Star Wars lesson with a clinically based mindfulness exercise.
That's brilliant.
And, if you tell me to do a deep breathing exercise, sometimes I might do it, sometimes I might not. But if you tell me to train like a Jedi,
Come on now.
well, then I'm going to do it.
Absolutely.
And so as I was watching Star Wars, I realized, all the mindful lessons that, I've learned about in mental health, They're all in Star Wars. And literally, what we don't talk about enough, because when we think of Jedi training, we think of fighting with the
Lightsabers,
lightsaber.
right.
But actually, the mental lessons of being a Jedi are, I would argue to say, more important than the physical lessons, than the physical training. And Yoda, Yoda teaches us, he says, a Jedi must have the deepest commitment, the most serious mind. And so I wanted to do a series of training videos from Star Wars, where I literally take the lessons that we learn directly from Star Wars, but combine them with an exercise that we can do. So there's 5 videos that are out right now, and they're meant to do daily. They're meant to do whenever you need them, but we're definitely going to be making more. There will be additional videos coming out next year, and they really, I don't know, I mean, they really work. I use them all the time, so thank you for asking.
Awesome.
Please help spread the word. They really are a useful tool. And the Nationwide Children's Hospital, and Dr. Ariana Howitt, who is the clinical director for On Our Sleeves, she actually worked with me on all of the videos. So all of the exercises are clinically based. They were blessed by doctors, and so they're safe for everyone to use.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you. Hi. What's your name?
My name's Sadie. I'm also from Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I remember, did our photo turn out?
Yes.
Okay.
So my question is, in the beginning of I've read this because I'm too young to actually have witnessed it, but at the beginning of Clone Wars, people didn't really like Ahsoka because they thought she was snippy and bratty and everything. But now she's one of the most well-known, most loved characters. So how did that transition for you?
It was, in the beginning, she did have a lot of haters. And I'm not going to lie, I took a day. I remember when the movie first came out, and I read all of the reviews, and I read a lot of the fan comments that weren't very nice. And I was really sad. I kind of locked myself in a hotel room because I was with my husband in Boston, and I didn't leave the hotel room the entire day. I cried the whole day. There was a cheesecake factory in the bottom of the hotel, and the only time I left the room was to go to the cheesecake factory and get a giant slice of pineapple upside down cheesecake, and I ate the whole thing. And I just really had a pity party for a day. But what was so helpful was that I was always a season or a season and a half ahead of what you all saw. So I knew how far she had come just in the first season. So after I had my pity party, then I was like, no, this character is awesome. And so when I would go into interviews or I would encounter someone that didn't like her, I would just ask for their patience. And I would say, you know what? I hear you. And I don't really disagree. I love R2, and I don't know if I'd call him R2-y. So I didn't necessarily disagree with some of the things, but I just said, please have patience, because this character is awesome. I know she's heading in the right direction and the direction of where you want her to go. So please just go on this journey with her. And luckily, people did. But I think it's a good lesson that
Absolutely.
Ahsoka learns in Clone Wars is patience.
Yeah.
Some things just don't happen overnight like we want them to. And trust me, I'm short on patience a lot. So it's a good lesson in patience.
That's fantastic. And you won us over with your kindness. Her character comes through, and by the end, we're like, no, we love her. We're so sorry. So yeah,
Yes.
that's brilliant.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Kyle. We took a picture
Hi.
together earlier. That was
Yes,
amazing.
did it turn out?
It turned out amazing.
Good. Okay.
Ahsoka's one of my favorite characters of all time, and I was just wondering so you did the Rebels Ahsoka, obviously, but when you came back to play a younger version for season 7, so what was your thoughts on coming back into the young version of her?
Well, anytime I get to do Clone Wars Ahsoka, it feels like home a little bit because I spent the most time as Clone Wars Ahsoka. And I like to say does anyone have that really comfortable pair of boots that you've just worn them in and you love them so much, and even when the sole starts coming off, you're going to get them repaired because like you just can't imagine not having them. Ahsoka's boots feel like just a comfortable pair of boots. So when I step back in Clone Wars Ahsoka, it very much feels like home. And it's probably the closest to my own voice is Clone Wars Ahsoka. But we were always very conscious of what age she was and what she had been through with the beginning of every season or every show. So during Clone Wars, I'd always ask Dave, like, okay, well, how old is she? You know, because she was between like 14 and like, I think 16 and a half between Clone Wars. So it was a very conscious decision of like, where in my register should the voice be? And then when I came back, well, then fast forward to Rebels, I was actually almost the same age as Ahsoka when we recorded in Rebels, so a lot of it was just my own voice then, but I did lower it a bit, like, I'm no Jedi. So I did lower it more than, you know, my normal speaking voice. So when I went back to Clone Wars, we did a combo of the two because Ahsoka had already walked away from the Jedi Order. So there was a bit of a sadness in her voice, which would make her voice a little deeper. And then in Tales of the Jedi, we bounced around even more. I had to go back and watch the movie over again to really get into you know, I know what I'm doing. You're stuck with me, Sky Guy. You know, so I really had to like find the register. It's all my voice, but it's where in the register it is.
Thank you.
Great question. Hello.
Hi, I'm Dexter. You kind of just answered my question because it was going to be about the artistic direction you went with Ahsoka's kind of voice and mannerisms pre-leaving the Jedi Order and post-leaving the Jedi Order. So, but you kind of just answered that. So.
She used the Jedi mind trick
but the
on
one
you.
thing I'll add to it that I didn't say is Dave did share Gandalf a lot with me with Rebels. So I had to, you know, he would want me to channel Gandalf, but then also I used Obi-Wan more as a reference, not in sound, but in tone and manner, because she was more like Obi-Wan. She was very stoic, very serious. So Rebels took me a while to actually get that tone of her voice.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi,
What's your name?
Monica.
Monica. What's your question?
My question is, what was it like being Ahsoka?
It's a big question.
It is. It's a big question. It's a dream come true to be Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka as much as you do. She means so much to me. And, you know, it's also a responsibility. So I'm sure you have responsibilities and chores and homework and things you have to do. And to me, it's a responsibility to be Ahsoka Tano because I see how much you all love her and how much she means to you. And so I strive day in and day out to be a real life version of her and a reflection of her. Not only for myself because I want to do that, but because I don't want to let anyone down. Because, like I said, she means, I know she means as much to you as she means to me. So it's definitely a responsibility, but it's one that I take very seriously. It's a good question.
Great question.
What is one of your favorite lines?
Ooh, what is one of my favorite lines? Well, I already said one of them about helping others, and then her famous one is "I'm no Jedi," which I just said. I do love the line, "This is a new day, a new beginning." And I love that because of what it represents. Because, you know, this is another Mindful Matters lesson. Yoda teaches Luke. You know, at first he says, well, I can't teach him because he's always looking off into the future, into the horizon. Never what is happening right here, right now. And I feel like that line really teaches us that all we have is today. And so this is a new day, a new beginning. Every day comes with hope. Every day is a gift that something exciting is about to happen. And so I really, really like that line. I also like, "You're stuck with me, Sky Guy."
It's a good one.
Good question. And I love
Thank
your
you.
tiara.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. First, I wanted to say that when I started watching Clone Wars and I first saw Ahsoka Tano, I was like, wow, she's cool.
I know. I think we all had that reaction.
And then ever since I saw Ahsoka, you have been my role model.
Aww.
Thank you.
And
Thank
so
you.
I just enjoy that I get to see you, and it's an honor. So.
Oh, thank you. Now, we just met. Did our photo turn out?
Yeah.
And it's your birthday, isn't it?
Well, it was like a month ago.
Still counts. Still counts.
But it still
Yeah,
counts.
yeah.
I mean, you get like a birthday month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I hope this is the beginning of your best year yet.
So what personality traits do you and Ahsoka share?
Wow.
Ooh, that's a really good
Yeah,
question.
that's a deep one.
The young ones coming in
Right?
with the hard-hitting ones.
Existential. I love it.
I would definitely say positivity. I am naturally a positive person, and a cup is half full person. Yes, I have bad days, and I have sad days, and I have mad days, and we all do. I mean, that's what we talk about with mental health, and it's good to acknowledge that. It's good to know that all of those emotions are okay, but I don't let it keep me down. I like to see the light in all the situations, even in the dark times. And so, yeah, I would say being a positive person. I'm a very, kind of a spunky person. Ahsoka does her own thing, which I've always done my own thing. I always beat to my own drum. My mom's here, she'll laugh. When I was in preschool, actually, I refused to wear a dress. Refused. Dresses were the worst thing ever to me. But I love the Karate Kid. So I would not take my school picture in a dress. I would only take my school picture if I was dressed as the Karate Kid. So sure enough, I have a picture with the headband and everything. So I was always very spunky, and yeah, I always had kind of my own personality and did my own thing. But I would like to believe that I've always, because my parents been kind, positive. I see the light, and I try to bring that to Ahsoka.
That's awesome.
Oh, and another one, genuine. So I once asked Dave Filoni, I said, why me? Why did you cast me? And he said, well, you were genuine. And I didn't even really understand fully what genuine meant. But you mean what you say. You do what you mean. You truly care about people. And that is really who Ahsoka is. She's just genuine.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Good question. And happy birthday.
Mom, can we see that picture, the Karate Kid one? Just if you have it with you, we want to. Yeah.
I'll have to post it.
Please,
again.
please, please. Absolutely.
Hi, I love your outfit.
Oh, thank you. Just love the fresh fit, Love it. But hi, my name is Chris. It's good to see you again. I actually
Hi,
met
yes,
you,
good to see you.
Down in Richmond earlier this year.
I remember you.
That's right.
Yes. I never forget a face.
Just melt my heart. But so we know that R2 is your favorite good guy or light side. Who's your favorite bad guy or dark side?
It's definitely Darth Vader.
Good choice.
Yeah. I've always liked Darth Vader, but now with the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka and really getting to know the hero side of Anakin, it made me fall in love with Darth Vader even more. So
Wise
yeah.
choice. Love it. And
Great
thank you
question.
for everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love the shirt. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, I love your
First off,
Ahsoka.
I have to go through this by saying thank you for being an inspiration for my life.
Oh, gosh,
And I
thank
say
you.
that wholeheartedly because 2.5 years ago, I had somebody steal my actual identity. And I had already started going through this cosplaying as Ahsoka. And my agent decided to go through this telling me point blankly, check the things as far as being able to legally become Ahsoka Tano.
Wow.
And I used your inspiration as going through. So my actual name is Ahsoka Ray Tano.
Wow. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
That is amazing.
Congrats.
And you know what? That is a perfect example of how you saw the light in a dark time.
Yes.
Because that's a very scary thing.
It is.
And it's a terrible thing
Yes.
to happen. And good for you.
So my question is, what would you teach Anakin as far as from the light side of things to try to brought him back from the dark side?
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
No one's ever asked me that. I don't know that she would necessarily teach him, but it would be more that she would love him. Because I do believe that kindness is stronger than hate. I do believe that love is stronger than hate and darkness. And so I think just by loving him, just like Luke did, that's what she would do. I mean, as we see in Rebels, she tried to help him. There's nothing she can do, truly. So all she can really do is love.
Love is the greatest thing ever.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Oh my gosh, so nice to meet
was
you,
a great
Ahsoka.
one.
That's so cool.
So I apologize. We are hitting our time limit. Can we try to get one more?
Yeah, let's get one last
Okay.
question
What
in.
I will say is everyone that's in line,
Sorry.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a stage selfie and you guys get first dibs right up here on the stage. Is that cool? Thank you. Last question.
Hi, my name's Daphne, and
Hi,
I
Daphne.
did this Ahsoka Tano was actually one of the reasons why I started watching Star Wars.
Oh, cool.
And
Appreciate that.
and also and you inspired me to become an actor or a voice actor because I don't know how you bring so much life into a character. Just when I hear you, and I'm honestly, it's one of my questions. How do you do it? What mindset do you put yourself in to play that character?
That's a great question. All I can say is that the emotions are real. They're all real. So a good example in Tales of the Jedi, when Ahsoka's at Padme's funeral and she says she was my friend, I was literally sobbing when I said that line because I'm really good friends with Kat Tabor, who voices Padme. I also, and it was kind of like our shows was over,
Right.
and so there was sadness there, but also just the thought of Ahsoka actually being there at Padme's funeral was just devastating. And so the tears just came flooding down. And so, yeah, sometimes you have to put yourself in sad situations like that. But however I would get there, whatever I would think, all the emotions were always very real.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.